My name is Carlin Isles. I played wing for United States National Sevens men's team. You know, people doubted me when I was younger because I was small. And so for me, I just wanted to prove something. My sister and I bounced around. We were taken away from my mother at a young age, about 5 years old. I slept in, a car, homeless shelter. I was sitting there, standing there, and they made me stand there, and they whipped me across the face with a belt. I used to, fight a lot to protect my twin and I. And going into the foster care system, the schooling was horrible, so I couldn't read and I couldn't write when I was younger. And I remember I just used to run away a lot. Cops used to try to find me, and I just didn't want to go back there. It's basically two young kids on their own, trying to survive and trying to fend for themselves, which it shouldn't be like that, I knew my path was different. I saw what the eye couldn't see, and I trusted it. I kept the objective over any issue. And about 8 years old, I found out I had a gift, which was running fast, and played football my first time. And from there, my life kind of took off, and did football and track majority all my life. Even as a freshman, I was running against college kids. I go to track meets, and I'm getting second. We had a race-off, and there was a guy from West Virginia and these other guys. And then I won, and that timed me at a 4.28 and then a 4.26. And here I am in high school, and that's fast. And then even when I went to my freshman year, going into college in the summer, we had 40s and they timed it, and I went 4.16. And after that, I just kept it rolling. I was on Google, on YouTube, and I was studying track and field. I always studied biomechanics, and I saw rugby, and I clicked on it, and I just started watching it. And I'm like, if you're not Usain Bolt, nobody really know about you. So I said, what if I became the world's fastest rugby player? What if I was able to support myself? What if I made the USA team? And what if I made the Olympics? Because I found out rugby was going to be in the first time in the Olympics in 2016. And I said, I'm going to do it. So I found on Google, I got on Google who to contact, found the CEO, Nigel Melville. I emailed him. He called me back. I prayed about it. 4 days later, I packed up all my stuff. I moved to Aspen, Colorado. I'm training there. I'm eating ravioli, peanut butter and jelly, sleeping on the couch. I remember driving up there, I was crying, because I'm like, if this don't work out, I'm screwed. I got a call. I go to Canada. The head coach was going to be there. I went there, tore it up. Next day, I got a contract. Boom. Became the world's fastest rugby player. Boom. Made the 2016 Olympics. Boom. Boom. And I was able to take care of myself. Boom. That was my thank you. Everything that I visioned came true. And the thing was, I was going to paint a picture my way, not let life paint them for me. And then I am 3 months later, I'm running on national TV. Let me tell you this is crazy. So here I remember my freshman and sophomore year, and I remember I was telling one of my track teammates, Steph, I was like, man, I know my path is different. It's different, and I know it, and you can't see it, you know what I'm saying? And most people can't see your vision. So for me, I saw what the past what the eye could see. And I'm over here like, man, this isn't for me. I used to wake up before school, and I run hills at 5 o'clock in the morning or chase school buses. And from probably about when I was in elementary all the way to high school, I did that every day. All I did was work out. I didn't go to no school dances. I didn't go to no prom. All I did was work out. I was a fanatic. I used to when I was younger, I thought I was gonna be a bodybuilder. But I was like, nah. And then I used to just I used to have this big old booklet of how to run faster, or pictures of biomechanics and understanding. And I used to, if I didn't understand something, I'd go ask the track coach. Anything and everything is possible to be fast. So for me, when I started playing football and I knew I was the fastest and I started getting in the track, I was so driven. But I knew I wasn't reaching my max potential.
On a whim, you literally hopped on the computer and Googled, what is rugby?
Yeah, I got on there and I was just because I watched, I'm like, man, what is this sport? It looked kind of cool, it was fast. And I was watching 15s. And he told me about sevens, and I watched sevens. And I'm like, oh man, this is meant for me. People was jugging, running fast. The pitch was 100 meters long, 70 meters wide. And I'm like, oh, I could do this. Yeah. I could do this. Well, first of all, there's no training like rugby training. And even switching from track and field, I'm like, oh man, this running, I'm like, man, I do a lot. So I'm like, I'd be cool when it comes to the rugby stuff, cool. I got to the rugby training, what? You gotta do combat conditioning to be able to hit people, get up, run fast, and be able to do it over and over and over and over again with maybe 30, 45 seconds rest. We're there from 7:45 to 3:30. We don't live at the training center, but we're there all day. We eat there, we take breaks there. The amount of mileage that we put on our legs and what the hitting and tackling and all this other stuff that we do, there's no sport like it. And to continue to do it over and over and over and over again. Rugby, nothing like it, nothing like it. I could play any sport, and excel, any sport, and be in shape. That's how conditioned rugby will make you, even mentally. We have to get used to being in dark places because that little voice will be like, oh, you're too tired, or it'll start to doubting you. And so we have to push ourselves past our limits. And when you push yourself past your limits, though, I'm telling you, because of rugby, there's nothing that feared me or scared me, or I couldn't do anything. So one thing about me, I spent a lot of time by myself, understanding myself. I was very introverted, just always talking to myself and, just trying to, what is really life about? Is this how it is? I wasn't scared of nobody. And so for me, when I was younger and I think people doubted me, that's what kind of my edge came from, because I was going to prove to people that it doesn't matter how small you are. It matters how big your heart is, and I have a big heart. So but as long as you keep climbing into a direction that you want to go, it will happen. Sometimes we want it to happen when we want to happen or know it when we want to know it, but that's not life. Life isn't always black and white. There's some gray area you got to live with. I like deep conversations. I like to understand the conscious and the subconscious mind. How the mind work, how your behavior work, what's steering your actions and emotions, and are you getting an emotional message? Wisdom is the way of life, and a lot of people want to be happy, want to have joy, but don't know how to get it. A lot of things that's blocking them, and it's all about perspective, because you can look at a picture and it can be, a little bit color, or maybe you looking at it as black and white, but a different perspective that you're not even aware of can open it up and make it look so much lively. And you can see things from not just one view, but so different other views. The way of life is wisdom. And the more you have that, the more you're able to cherish and take care of everything around you. Even if it's in sports or in the office or whatever it may be, even if it's your family. You can see things before it happens and understand yourself. Especially mental health is very important. I love helping people. So reading how to create space, I think that was the biggest thing for me was, okay, how do I create space? Because if it's taken away from the outside, how do I change the picture into my favor? What's crazy? I didn't, even playing in my first World Series tournament, I didn't know all the rules. I'm still, my teammates would do something, I kind of retreat back if there was a penalty, and I'm just watching, looking at what other people doing. And then as I kept going and going, I understood it. I understood it a lot more. For me, I think my proudest moment, reflecting back, is probably qualifying for the Olympics. When we qualified, we won the game, our last game. I dropped to my knees and I just looked up, and all the suffering, the hard work, everything paid off. I did it. To keep a dream alive, to fight through adversity, I conquered. So I was happy. That was probably my proudest moment. I'm still figuring it out. I'm still, putting the pieces together, but it's getting there.